This episode is available in video format on the Jazz Cabbage Cafe's YouTube page.
So we're going to talk about the Clemency Coalition that recently has been formed and had a meeting, and includes our good friend Ryan Basore and Redemption, and other groups and organizations, and that kind of stuff. But first, Ryan, we were talking about the proposal, or the group that is proposing or recommending an increased tax, which actually includes, as I looked at it before the show, includes reinstating the 3% excise tax on the medical program. But anyway, just your thoughts on that. Our thoughts were that we should be interested in helping out social equity programs and giving them teeth, and maybe even allocating funds toward them, but that we don't need to increase taxes generally. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I echo those sentiments, and from my experience of listening to people, is that it's still the biggest barriers is access to capital for a lot of people, especially people affected by the war on drugs and that have come from some of these communities. It's definitely tougher, but the proposal that I saw, that to me doesn't make any sense. You can't raise all those taxes. Like we're working on competing with the illicit market, and that's not how you do that. And there's ways to be more efficient. We could give the cops less money. We could do a lot of things in there that would make a lot more sense. But like I said, like I still think it's too much, but like the only thing that, like, if they were just raising it a little bit, 0.5%, 1% or something, and it was only going to grants and training for social equity applicants, I could probably fall in line with that. But that's my bare maximum of agreeing that anything with the taxes.
Okay. Well, fair enough. I'm glad that you didn't say that you are in support of it, and then
Yeah.
Let us know why.
No,
but,
it needs to be done, but I think I love the fact that Michigan is focusing on that, and in my talks with other states and other people around the country, they do recognize that Michigan's taken an interest in that, and that it's cool. That it is exciting. I don't expect it to be perfect from how it was first released, but hopefully we get some good, there's a lot of community talk on it, and we come up with the best plan.
So
somebody update. I just want somebody to update me on expungement. I feel like for a while everybody was talking about expungement and what was going to happen with expungement, what was being passed, but now I don't know.
Well, the bill's passed, and we were bitching because the overall a very awesome set of bills, a definite improvement to expungement at large, and some revolutionary things like with some automatic stuff for misdemeanors and felonies after 7 and 10 years respectively, just coming off your record, because that's so really good stuff. We were bitching about the cannabis, the specific cannabis bill within that package of bills, which kind of came up short. Nothing was automatic about it. Didn't even get into felonies, and although it purported to allow people who engaged in cannabis activity that was made legal, through the MRTMA, for what they had done previously, it really only allowed it for possession and use, whereas people can grow and they can also transfer it. So what they would call, manufacture and delivery were things that were not eligible for that expungement through the cannabis thing. So we thought that part was short, but the overall package did things like allow people to, it had been, you could only do it if you had 1 felony, and you had to wait 5 years and all these other conditions. Now you can do it up to 2. And as I said, some things are automatic, and there's a lot of improvements. The clean slate approach, and Robbie had a lot to do with that. He should get some good credit.
One of the hangups though is we're going to have more work to do is Ingham County. We won't, but the prosecutors, the local prosecutors, the county get to basically, you put in for it, and they can fight it, or they can go against it, and then that's going to take attorneys. So like that's one thing we're looking at pretty heavily in places. I've got and talking to a couple of provisioning centers down in Berrien and County and Cass that want to actually work with my foundation to raise funds and provide pro bono attorneys for people in those counties that might be going for their expungement. But yeah, I'm guessing there's going to be some county prosecutors throughout the state that are contesting a lot of those. So just depends on where you're at too, I think.
Ryan, you mentioned your foundation. This is a good time to talk about that.
Well, actually, another tie-in is cool. I'm really excited about the PCAP project. A lot of great artists in prison. When I was in there, it means a lot, and it's fun. And there's huge art shows where I was at. But the foundation, we were able to donate $1,000 to that home on Sunday too. So that was we're excited about that, and going to do a lot more with it. And a lot of good stuff. We work with ACT. Just got it today, the first one. We work with ACT Labs. It's a testing lab that's testing concentrates now, and been around. A lot of our friends, and received a nice check from them today from the foundation for a program we got going with them. So it's pretty cool. Revenue is starting to come in to where we can make a difference. And as far as like with the foundation, where Michael Thompson is going to be getting out soon. There's more to come on that. This coalition, and then I'm really starting to aim to maybe there's an opportunity for some of us in Michigan to get involved nationally, play a bigger role too. Now that things have changed, so a lot going on. It's an exciting time to be in criminal justice reform and cannabis reform.
When you talk about the coalition, we should explain for our listeners that on this last Saturday, which I think was the 15th, 16th, something like that, of January, we met with the leadership from Last Prisoner Project, the Cannabis Caucus of Michigan Democratic Party, Force Detroit, the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, and several other groups. Robin Snyder from Michigan Cannabis Industry Association, Verge Bernero, former mayor of the city of Lansing, plus two prosecutors, Ely Savitt and Carol Seaman. That'd be Ingham County and Washtenaw County, irrespective. Those, there was
Rep Robbie.
Representative Robbie, that's absolutely true. So we met to form this Clemency project, and maybe Jamie, you can explain a little bit more about that, because I think I've got some lag on my line.
Yeah, well, there was also this national group of criminal defense lawyers, and then the people from Last Prisoner Project that have been around and working directly with Ryan and Mike McCurdy, the National Foundation, the Democratic Cannabis Caucus, and it was pretty cool, actually. If you think about all the major components that were represented there, lawmakers, prosecutors, many organizations with some resources, it's the kind of situation that presents itself as being capable of getting some stuff done. And this conversation was on the heels of there being some real action with Michael Thompson, and and I'm sure Ryan can give us some more feedback on that, because he's directly involved in this stuff.
Yeah, so like this Clemency program, Norm Reimer, who was head of Clemency, worked with the Obama administration and has done a lot of stuff, and is really, really a guy with credentials, and has been around, and they're doing this, and they're looking to help states, and Michigan's the main target based on our activism and our friendliness with some of our lawmakers, and a real possibility. So it's really a whole program that they lay out, and they do. Bart Morris was there, and he's a member of it, but it's they lay it out, and they train attorneys, and they start going to work, and they have a big case management program they use and get organized, and they start going to work on all the 1,200 to 1,000 people that are still in there. That's what they're gearing up. They're asking if this group can take the lead on it. We have support of the AG's office. Dana was supposed to be on the show, but with everything going on in Lansing with different threats, they had to cancel at the last minute. So we're looking to get support from the governor's office. So there's a lot of people heard about it now too, and want to be more involved. And it's a win-win-win situation for everybody involved, including the governor and obviously the people of the state, and then obviously the people that are in jail and their families. So there's no reason not to do it.
And the goal would be to help the governor extend clemency to more people who are currently incarcerated or who have been freed but still need to have their records expunged, and also to instigate better expungement rules in the state of Michigan too. Is that right, Ryan?
Yeah, and it's really to give a vehicle and an apparatus and the help, no charge, it's not, doesn't cost anything, to where they can jumpstart this, and it's not a burden on the governor's office. And these guys are experts at doing it, and they've done it, and then they're set up and ready to go. So it's got a real chance. We had a great engagement from the two prosecutors, and there'll be more, and there'll be more. There might be more lawmakers as well too. I got some calls afterwards of people that want to know how they could get involved, and there's also lobbyists that want to get involved, and obviously not charged for their time as well. So that helps.
Is there a way that people listening to this broadcast today can get involved in this project, or is that something we'll need to update them with on a later program?
Probably update on a later program, but then there's also, I see Mike McCurdy just joined us, so he's the expert on all of this.
Hello.
Hey, Mike.
Mike McCurdy, for our listeners, is the chairman of the Cannabis Caucus of the Michigan Democratic Party and has been one of the integral pieces involved in Michigan's effort to free Michael Thompson, to launch the Clemency Project, and to move expungement forward on a number of different fronts. So thank you for joining the Jazz Cabbage Cafe, Mike McCurdy.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Sorry to be late.
We were just discussing the Clemency Project, and if you could, we've already given an overview of what its goals are and who the participants were, but give us your sensation of how you felt about Saturday's meeting. We all thought it was very positive.
I mean, Saturday's meeting went great. Unfortunately, we did not have a representative from the governor's office there. I think we should all be giving her the benefit of the doubt at this point, given everything that she's, our meeting was literally scheduled the day before. There was also an armed uprising scheduled. So, I know her life was, her family was under high security. There were credible threats against her. So I think that she's aware, she knew. We definitely have our program in front of her, and that is an accomplishment of that meeting. So I think the meeting went very well. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter until we get the governor's attention on it. I mean, without her buying into our program, we're not going to get people out. So hopefully, ideally with that meeting, with some prosecutors on board with us, we proved we have at least one state rep on board with us. We got 2 prosecutors on board with us. They signed up. The ex-mayor of Lansing signed up, said he was on board with us. I'm hoping we can get their signatures on a letter to the governor that says, hey, come to the table. It's time.
What would be required in Michigan for us to have real reform on a clemency level? Right now, it's a very cumbersome process, and according to Sarah Gersten, who's the executive director from Last Prisoner Project, poor Michael Thompson's going to be still being owned by the prison complex for 4 years after he's released, because he's going to have 4 years of parole on a charge that was released by the governor. So what do we need to do in order to resolve things like that so we can get better results for the people that get clemency in the future?
I mean, I think a big key is right now we have an acting head of the parole board. Whitmer has the power to appoint that position. And I think we need a head of the parole board who's friendly to a clemency project. But honestly, at the end of the day, we need a governor who's friendly to a clemency project. And we have through our coalition, we've basically laid this at Gretchen Whitmer's feet, and we've made it as easy as it can possibly be. The National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, basically they figured this out under the Obama administration. They've streamlined the whole process where they've made everything electronic, and they're saying, hey, all you need to do is give us the criteria, Governor Whitmer, and we can give you the applications in exactly the order you want, everything sorted for you electronically, and all you have to do is sign on the dotted line. It's as easy as it gets for the Whitmer administration. They just need the political will to do it. And on top of that, like you said, one of the things we can be asking, and it's within her power, is these sentences should be commuted. They should be commuted absolutely without, you know, that 4-year additional parole terms. And that's, you know, something we can.
In addition to the work that we did to free Michael Thompson, or as a result of it, rather, we received an exhaustive list of people currently incarcerated in Michigan prisons whose cases are associated with cannabis in one way or another. And I know that the Cannabis Caucus and other folks have been working through that list to identify a couple people that immediately deserve commutation, and then others that'll come forward. We're really talking about a large number of people, right, Mike, that are eligible for this or that are still in jail because of cannabis to a certain degree.
It's a number that's really hard to put a finger on, specifically because of cases such as, we've got a case where somebody is serving I think it's 10 to 20 years on a what's ostensibly a crack cocaine charge, but the reason they got that long of a sentence is because they had 2 previous marijuana charges. Right. So it's actually relatively complex. You know, we've got somebody else who's been reincarcerated. They could be doing 5 to 10 more years. And the reason they're in is because they got violated on parole for using their medical marijuana. They have their card. They have every right to use their medicine. And yet they essentially are serving 5 to 10 years for the crime of using their medicine, which is insane. You know, and so to find out how many of these people there are, we need the program, because there's just the MDOC. Nobody has really the seeming ability, at least not the will, to do the legwork to sort through the prison population and figure out how many people are there technically or not technically, but on cannabis. Because it's not just as straightforward as being convicted of a cannabis crime and then you're in.
And so I just want to put it into perspective a little bit. One of the first times that the Attorney General was met with Mike McCurdy and Rick Thompson and Zara from the Cannabis Caucus, she showed up with a list upon request of like 15 people or something like that. And that represented the only ones that had like this direct link to cannabis was the thing they were charged, convicted, and in prison for. So what makes it more complex is that sometimes inappropriately cannabis was the beginning of an investigation or something like that too, and then led to all types of other things. Maybe even like Michael Thompson's case would be an example of that. And that led to other things that turned into, you know, what they got put away for. So to be able to peel some of that back and get on the same page with what qualifies as cannabis being involved in that inappropriately, and that those people should get some consideration for, is the hard thing that he's talking about, putting a finger on.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Jamie. Like in Michael Thompson's case, he was busted with selling 3 pounds of weed to a friend. And then they went to his apartment and they found some guns locked up in a closet. And they said, well, we're going to say you used these guns in the commission of a crime. And so technically he was in serving time on a gun crime, you know, even though the guns themselves were never used in a crime. Now, Rudy Gammo also was not on that initial list that we got from the Attorney General, because even though he was locked up for running his medical marijuana facility, he was charged with some sort of racketeering charge. He wasn't actually charged with cannabis, so that didn't come up on a search through data for people serving time for cannabis. And those are just glaring examples, and we really don't know how many of those are out there.
We did receive an updated list, though, Mike. At one point, didn't it have a number of like 2,000 names on it at some point?
Yeah, we have a list of approximately 2,000 names of people that the MDOC has identified as having marijuana being some sort of influencing part of their record. But I don't believe that list is complete either. Very specifically, I'm almost certain it doesn't contain people who are violated for parole, or like I discussed earlier, the situation where the past of marijuana convictions made it so their conviction was a 3rd or 4th offense when really their past offenses were simply marijuana crimes, and so it looks like they're only serving time on a cocaine charge or something of the sort. But the reality is that their time was quadrupled or more because it was a 3rd or 4th offense.
Thank you for that explanation. I tell you, the Clemency Project is an important thing moving forward. Here in Michigan, we have a lot of buy-in from partners and people that are actually willing to do the work. And what you've demonstrated here in these last few minutes is that there certainly is a need for that service to be done out there. Ryan Basore, you know a little bit more about this. I think maybe what is the cannabis lawyers pilot program on a statewide level? What would that entail?
What it would entail, like, actually, that might be a better one for Mike. I just know that they have this it's one of the associations, and there's 650 members already in Michigan. And Bart Morris was on the call. He's been a member for already like 15 years, big supporter, and it would be engaging those attorneys with the software, the management system, with the track every single one, updates, who's on it, who's on what, and working there. That they have the whole system and network all figured out. It's basically being allowed to put it into place. That's the beautiful thing. So I think it's just really great. Like, people are coming to help nationally, and we don't have to invent the wheel or reinvent it. And our job is to, like Mike said, put pressure on the governor, just make sure she can see this is a win for everybody. With what's happened federally, this gives us a lot better chance with us watching what I think they're going to start doing. And so it's all positive. It's just keep pushing the needle. So we just need approval.
In Michigan, we've had so many firsts, and we're very, very proud of those. But in this instance, it's best not to be the one going first, because the first guy stumbles. And we don't want Michigan's program to stumble. We want it to start racing forward and doing good from day one. Mike, do you have anything to add to what Ryan said about the kind of the program that ACDL would be bringing to Michigan? You're on mute, my friend. You're on mute, Mike.
You're on mute.
Sorry. They are the big dog in the room right now, NACDL, but they're not. They don't do all the work, which is part of the reason we need to grow our coalition, because we need to raise money for reentry programs. We need to support reentry groups. We need reentry groups joining our coalition. We need to be pressuring lawmakers to pass legislation so people who are getting out can work in the cannabis industry. We need, Yusuf Rabi was on our call on Saturday, and he pressed it that his point was, we not only need people getting out to be able to work in the cannabis industry, we need them to be able to be owners. A lot of these people serving time, they were sole proprietors when they went in. And they shouldn't be coming out and being told that they have to go work for somebody else. They should be able to, like, step in and be owners again. So that's it. There's a lot that needs to happen. Clemency's a part of it. Reentry is a big part of it. And changing some of our laws to make all that easier.
Mike, help people understand what a reentry group is.
Well, so getting out of prison is hard. People in prison are very institutionalized. I had somebody I worked with through I hired into my construction company to do work straight out of prison. And this guy had owned his own company doing construction for decades. He got out of prison after 5 years, and he was afraid to ride a bus. Swear to God, he was afraid to leave the house. Like, they had him so broken and institutionalized that he just didn't know how to function. And so people coming out of prison, they need support. They need a leg up. They need funding. Some of them may need housing. They need jobs, need the ability to survive. Right. And the emotional support, everything else. I mean, they're coming out of. I mean, think about Michael Thompson, for Christ's sakes. He just did 25 years. I mean, that guy's going to need some help, right? And everybody coming out is going to need help. Imagine we just lost 5 years of our lives. We need help.
Just understanding the world, like, the world is not
so different now.
It's so strange. Yeah.
That's one of the things that we do poorly is help people readjust is the world. We don't do mental health very well here in the United States of America, and we don't do reentry either. Ryan, you experienced that life. Can you add anything to the importance of reentry groups?
Yeah, that's what was so shocking to me, how much you stacked up. And so I know the federal system. I don't know the state. And you get out, you're in a halfway house, and I was in Kalamazoo, and you're in lockdown there. You're not allowed to work for yourself. You're not allowed to work for a family member. You're not allowed to take a high-paying job in my situation because they don't want you getting back into the lifestyle or not being humble. And so you get a bed and you fight to get out of that so you can start going home on the weekends. With like for me, they forced me. I had to live with my parents. I was actually thankful for the time with them out in the country and thankful for it. But I had land contracted my houses and they wouldn't let me get an apartment. So, and then they're all over you looking for you for ways to mess up, write you up. But then with a bed, I was charged a bed after 2 months. I started staying at home. There was 5 people getting charged for one bed in the halfway house. So and they take it was like 20,
What?
it was 25% of what you made before taxes they take from you too. So it's just and these guys, some people are coming out, they fixed it with the Michigan driver responsibility, but you go in, you don't renew your license, you come out and you owe $1,500 to the state even to get a license. Well, why didn't you renew it? I was in prison. And it's just one thing after another. And guys making 12, 15 bucks an hour, and they've got 6. So some of these guys had 6, child support, cases to pay. And I was just shocked. I had friends and family that really helped me out, but that still wasn't easy. So that was shocking. It's disgusting the way they turned it into a business, and they try to keep you in the system. And once you get out, it's a different world, but it's tough. So it's important. Sorry to go on a rant there, but it brought back some memories.
No,
Oh,
man, you're
yeah.
educating us. You're educating us for real.
Yep. Yeah. So this has been a great conversation. As far as clemency goes, Jamie, any additional thoughts? You were at that meeting.
Yeah, I hope that, and it was kind of discussed that, we can get the governor's attention. She can offer what parameters are appropriate. And then we know then how to approach all the others that might be involved and be able to use the resources from the national guys from criminal defense lawyers, and that kind of stuff. But I think the cool thing is there are avenues to getting her attention there, and there's a lot of capability, professionalism, and a lot of confidence in being able to actually do something here. It's not just proposing the concept of it and not believing that there's enough juice there to make something happen. I mean, it seemed very promising to me. All components involved, everybody participating, and what was being brought to the table from resources to experience. And looking forward to seeing what happens from all this.
I'm applying some awesome Dory balm to my temples because I have a little bit of a headache. Dory balm. Love that stuff. They're not a sponsor or anything. I like to spread success stories whenever I can, and Dory's stuff is
Good
fantastic.
shit. So good.
For
Yeah.
Sure is. So this has been great. I don't know, Mike, did you have any other updates you wanted to let us know about, things going on?
Oh boy. Well, before we move on from this, I just want to say that we need to fully expect that we're going to lose the clemency battle, right? And what I mean by that is we have to have all hands on deck, right? The thing is this is a big thing. You almost always lose your big fights. I think we can win, but we have to pull all of our resources. The cannabis community has to get behind this, right? We got to put money behind it. We got to put our organization's names behind it. We got to put our voices behind it, use our connections. We have to give the governor no choice but to do this, basically, right? And that's nothing against her, but I think that's just the reality. Politically, this might be a hard thing for her to do. So we have to make it politically impossible not to do. I mean, that's my position. I think we should be all be using all of our contacts and all our resources to make this happen. And that'll go towards, we're building a coalition. So please we'll be making a formal call to all the cannabis groups out there to join our coalition. And I know there's a lot of us, so I hope we can all pull together on this.
Ryan, go ahead, Mike? Did you have any other updates on anything else going on?
Well, did Ryan talk about Michael Thompson's release date yet?
He did not.
Please do.
Go ahead, Mike.
Do you have it in front of you?
No, I know it's January 28th, 8 a.m. and it's at the Edward. I got the name of the spot. It's down in Jackson. It's at the Charles Edgar reception. And we are planning, it's for people that are, activists and, he's getting out and really just want to make it to where he gets out, cheer him on, whether it's honking your horn in the cars or maybe some signs, just real respectful and tasteful for him. And because I've been thinking about this, man, I knew what it was like to get out after, almost 3 years, whatever. And 25 years, especially being in there for a lot of the time, thinking you were doing it to do life, and never get out. What a surreal moment that's going to be. So, people that have helped and people that have been following it, that's where it's going to be. And we're going to be putting out a press release pretty soon, but it's super exciting. And hopefully this is, a momentum builder because it's glad to see it happen. It was a lot of work just to get one person out, but one person's life matters, we do that over and over again, but it needs to, we need to pick up the pace. Obviously this is, enjoy the victory, but we got to get going, like Mike
First
said.
one's hardest, but the second one comes easier, and that's really what we're hoping for.